Good afternoon, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the panel of Irish. So this is the first panel titled with Deepfakes for Financial Fraud, but I do believe this panel is much more relaxed one than the preliminary one. But still, we will have an interesting and fruitful discussion in this panel. So with this title of Deepfakes for Financial Fraud, I believe that we will learn a lot around the growing use of generative AI in financial fraud and how it creates the urgency of creating collaboration in Southeast Asia to combat this kind of fraud. And we're also going to learn about the importance of legal system, and we're going to learn from the experience of developed countries, such as the USA, to learn how to manage this kind of fraud. We're also going to hear about how the use of generative AI also to combat this kind of AI. And we're going to wrap up our discussion with learning how with the growing of AI, it's creating how it's the ethics around this matter. So I think we're moving on in introducing our speakers today. We're going to have Mr. Adinova Fauri from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, welcome. And secondly, we will have Dr. Salil Tong Mensuk from Thailand Development Research Institute, welcome. I hope that I pronounced that correctly, your name. And we'll also have Ms. Tran Lu Lee, lecturer from University of Languages and International Studies, VNU. And last but not least, we will have also Dr. Dian Kartikara Hajeng, also as a lecturer from Faculty of Economics and Business from Universitas Gadjah Mada. So I think without further ado, I will open this panel of discussion, which I will inviting Mr. Adinova Fauri to develop his speech on bridging the gaps, rethinking regional efforts against online scams in the Asia Pacific. For Mr. Ino or Adinova, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Badian. So, can I get my slide, please? So, a bit of introductions about myself. Hello everyone. Welcome to the panel number 1. My name is Adinova. I am an economic researcher at CSIS Indonesia. I've been with the centers for quite some time. So, yeah. The titles of my paper is Bridging the Gaps, Rethinking Regional Efforts Against Online Frauds and Scams in Asia Pacific. So again, a little bit about the backgrounds of this paper. So basically, we here with us in the CSIS and Safer Internet Lab, we have 10 case study about online fraud and scams across Asia Pacific. We invited researchers in the Asia Pacific to write about the case of online fraud and scams in their country, and after that we compiled the results and producing this paper as an umbrella for all the conditions and for all the regulatory assessment. So please, everyone, you may check our results, our report in Safer Internet Lab website. So if you are very interested in the topic, we have 10 case studies that are talking about the issues of online fraud and scams across Asia Pacific. So why is it important? So why is it important to talk about online fraud and scams, especially in the regional context? So I think you may or you may not know that online fraud and scams is a very massive issue, and this issue is not only Indonesian only, but also in the region. And I'm pretty sure you have encounters at least once any scams attack. You may receive a message in your WhatsApp or in your text saying that you won a prize, or if you invest in this, you may get a very a good return. So I'm pretty sure we are all the victims of online scams, and that is why the issue is very important to discuss further. And Asia Pacific is one of the most interesting region when it comes to the issues of online fraud and scams, because 31% of the global cyber attacks happen in this region. And the loss of, or the funds that are generated in the Southeast Asia has reached 36 billion, or it accounts for 1% of the GDP across Southeast Asia, which is a very big numbers. So imagine that if that numbers you invested in the productive sector, so it can create a multiplier or higher results in the yields and productivity. So yes, it is a very important issues to talk about in the regions. And there is AI, and new players comes into the market. And with the existence of AI, generative AI, now the victims are more vulnerable, because the scams threats can be modified into a more localized language. So imagine that the scammers can use bahasa Jawa, Javanese language with their very look-alike or very local saying that. So which makes it which makes the victims will be trusted more to when they receive the message. And they can also be customized to what is your needed. So that is the importance of data infrastructures. I will talk more about this later on. But yes, domestic efforts is important, and we found in our report that actually the domestic efforts to address the issues of online fraud and scams has been there, but the international commitment, the bilateral and also regional efforts to address the issues is still very lacking. And why is it important? Because the issues of online fraud and scams is not a one single country issues. It's a international, it's a regional issues. So if we do not really address the cross-border issues or the international aspects, I believe that it's very hard to get more effective measures to combat the issues. So next, yeah. Why is it important, again, to talk about online fraud and scams? Because we mapped and we found that actually fraud and scams or scam encounters is positively correlated with digital trust, with the loss in the digital trust. So imagine that if we don't do anything towards the issues of online fraud and scams, it may create a loss in the digital trust, which makes people will use it less, and the value of digital economy will be not as scale as it should be. So it will create a problem in the generating values to the economy. So that's the first one. And the second one that I wanted to, the point that I wanted to raise, this is something that is quite similar to Prof. Ang, to the point that Prof. Ang has raised in the morning, that actually digitally mature countries is more susceptible towards the online fraud and scams. Why is it the case? Because when the internet penetrations increase, people more use their time in the internet, so they are more vulnerable towards online fraud and scams. That's the first point. But the second one is that when the people use digital services more, they don't really equip with the necessary protections for themselves. So that's also the second issue. That is why we can see from the graph that there is a somehow positively correlated between scam encounters and internet penetration rate. Yeah, and the problem is that cybersecurity efforts is not really effective as well, because higher score in the National Cybersecurity Index doesn't mean anything towards our efforts to stop the scams encounters. Basically, it's not a problems of the regulatory measures, but usually it's the problems in the implementations and also the adoption side, because you can create a very strong regulations, but if you did not use it well or you do not implement it well, it will still won't stop the issues of scams. That's the first one, and there is a second one to show that the issues of online fraud and scams is not a domestic issues. We are fighting against bad actors. That is why we need to have a more collaboration when it comes to addressing the issues of online fraud. Next, please. So this is the conceptual framework that we are using. We are using the concepts of data governance and also internet governance to look at what are actually the critical points that we need to have in terms of having a good regulatory measures to tackle the issues both domestically and also internationally. So we use the data governance, and we have the several principles such as to have a good data protection law, consumer protection, and also cross-border data selections to combat the scams. But the problem is, there are lots of variations in terms of the data governance principles across the world. So I can only show you that, for example, the US favors more free flows of data as a commodity, and then the EU exclusively protect the transfers of personal data. So imagine that there is a case of frauds when you need to have one single database of fraudsters or scammers. So without the transfers of these needs, it will become a burden to have this kind of limitations to address the issue. So yes, there is an issues of data protections, but I think balancing out with the way that we have to try to reduce the numbers of fraudsters is also an important aspect. So what we did in our paper, we mapped those framework into several aspects: consumer protection law, personal data protections, designated anti-scam centers, asset tracing mechanism, data sharing, and also public scam awareness campaign. And we mapped across Asia Pacific countries, and we found that you can see that there is a varieties of every nations to have all these components. So for example, not all countries have a designated anti-scam centers, which shows that it is not really the priorities of the country, the issues of scam. And that's the first one. And the second point that I wanted to raise, although that some of the countries have their own their own components. For example, like Indonesia, they have consumer protection law. It doesn't really mean that the regulations itself is a very strong one, because our consumer protection law, I think you know that it's very outdated one. It comes from the 1999 consumer protection law, which hasn't really addressed the issues of digital age. And asset tracing one is also a complicated one because now the asset tracing is not really for the scams encounters, for the scams issue, but it is still under the Anti-Money Laundering Act. So it's not really effective, although that they have all the tick in each of the components. And another point that I wanted to raise is, as you can see, we map the institutions across Asia Pacific that are responsible to address the online fraud and scams on their domestic level. And we found that there is a lack of single point in these regions, which can create a problem in twofold. The first one is that for the people in their country, it will create a bit of a problem to where to report. So, for example, here in Indonesia, we have it under Financial Services Authority, but there's also a hotline in the Ministries of Communications as well. So it can create a problem on that aspect. The second one, it can create a coordination and problematic issues in the international cooperation aspect, because other nations don't really know where they wanted to connect when it comes to agreement with the countries. So that's a point that I wanted to raise. And the next point that I wanted to raise is about the lack of concrete or good internet governance to combat the online scams in the aspects of bilateral and also international agreements. Sorry, this is very unclear to look at, but this list is a list of almost every bilateral and also regional agreement that we can have. And on this each agreement, we wanted to look at whether this agreement has emphasis or has mentioned the issues of online scams. So the issues is that not all agreements has really mentions every good internet governance framework. So for example, the consumer protection one is not really mentioned, or even public awareness campaign is not also mentioned. Asset tracing is also not mentioned on each agreement. So there's an issues in here. And one of the things that we can have is the ASEAN regional commitment, which at least has aware about the issues and has mentions on almost every aspects of the internet governance. So with those challenge, we of course there's a lot of issues that we can discuss, but I think the most basic one that we wanted to raise in our recommendations is the first by establishing a joint task force, because by having a joint task force, I think it will limit the coordination problem between countries. But of course, establishing a new joint task force will create a very, very big issues if there is no leadership in the region. So who's going to step up? Who's going to take the role leader in the regions, right? So that's the issue. But the second options that we wanted to explore is by adapting the ASEAN working group on anti-scams work. So by adopting this ASEAN working group and then expanding it towards the ASEAN Plus model, I think that is something that at least we can have a similar awareness first when it comes to bilateral and international agreement. And with this, I think we can start talking how we can address the issues of online fraud and scams in the regional context. So thank you so much for listening. I will give back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Adinova, for setting up the discussion around the financial fraud in Southeast Asia. Next, we will move on to the next speaker, Dr. Salil Tong Mensuk, who will share her perspective on rethinking the legal framework for online scams in Thailand, lesson from the AU and also the US. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Salil Tong. Place is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sinthorn Homishuk from Thailand Thailand Development Research Institute, or the TDRI. And please allow me to sit down. I'm not as strong as him. So anyway, thank you very much. Why is it in that, the first slide? Yes, so here today I'm honored to share with you some reflection on how Thailand might rethink its legal framework for online scam, drawing lessons from the EU and the US. And I hope you can learn something from Thailand approach as well. So next question, next page, please. Actually, it's not. So, online scam in Thailand, as you can witness in the recent year, it has grown not only in numbers, but also on their level of sophistication as well. But if we look at our existing legal framework, there is still a lot of room for improvement. And in doing so, global model offer very helpful consideration and also lessons for not just Thailand, but actually for ASEAN as well. While the EU and the US share some goal of tackling online scams, their approach differ greatly in certain aspects. For example, the EU tends to adopt more systemic, preventive, and rules-based framework. Think of regulation like the Digital Services Act of the EU, which imposes a clear responsibility on platform to manage online risk, ensure traceability of the traders, and protect users through the design. And the US, on the other hand, relies more heavily on sectoral regulation, private enforcement, and strong inter-agency coordination. And if you have seen the US regulation before, it more focused on deceptive practices and consumer protections through the TFC and financial regulators. And there is a bigger emphasis on public and private partnership and also data sharing with the civil partner as well, rather than broad regulatory mandates. Next slide, please. Maybe we can skip this slide as well. So before we, next slide, please. Before we diving into legal responses, so let's take a closer look at the scale of the problem we are talking about. So Thailand have seen over 700 online scams per day. And this add up to more than 63 billion baht, or around 1.8 billion US dollars in losses between 2024 to 2020. From 2022 to 2024. And this isn't just a cyber issue, it's a national economic concern. And in terms of methods, scams are becoming more diverse and personalized, and identity theft is the most common form in Thailand, followed by fake online shopping, fraudulent, and also data collection for impersonation. And also there is investment scams online and also impersonation of authority as well. And this tactic target both emotional triggers and also financial vulnerabilities. Moreover, scammers increasingly exploit AI as a tool, and the survey shows that over half of scam messages appear AI generated, making them much harder to detect. While the identity theft and impersonation cases are rising each year. Next slide, please. So now let's take a look at Thailand, how Thailand is responding through regulation. So Thailand, we have a royal decree on digital platform services, and this law just entered into force previous year in August, so it means around 1 year of enter into force. And this represents our country's first horizontal attempt to regulate digital platforms, not through sector-specific law, but across the board. And the enforcement and oversight is under the Electronic Transaction Development Agency in Thailand, or EDA. The law has two main goals. The first one is to identify which platform must notify the government before operating. And second one, it seeks to set operational rules designed responsibility, particularly for consumer protection. And unlike EU Digital Services Act, which differentiate platform by type, like hosting service, online platform services, or intermediary services, Thailand's approach classifies platforms solely by size. There are 4 types: small provider, which are not subject to full obligation, and general providers with minimum threshold of revenue or user base. And third one is large-scale providers, which either earn over 3 billion baht per service type, over 1 billion baht across all service, or serve more than 10% of Thai population, meaning 10 million people. And also it is worth noting that the exceptions, platform already regulated under specific laws, like for example, financial institute or security regulations, platform operated under the state non-commercial purposes are not falling under this law. Next slide, please. Let's now turn our attention to the main obligation that platform provider must adhere to under the royal decree. Firstly, platform must provide notify their business operation under EDA. I think I missed one slide, but it's okay. I will just talk through. So if you are normal platform, not the smaller one, but general platform, you have the duty to notify of your business operation to this agency. And this is a crucial step that ensure government is aware of the platform existence and operations. And secondly, platform must have measures in place to provide compensation for any injuries or damages caused by the result of their operation. And this is an essential aspect of consumer protection, ensuring that the users are not left to bear the burden of any potential mishaps. And furthermore, for the offshore provider, they are required to have a contact person in Thailand. And this ensures that there is a contact point available to address any issues or damage that may arise. And in addition, platform must review their terms and conditions to ensure that it meets minimum requirements laid down by this law. And lastly, there are also additional obligations for the large platform and specified platform, which in this slide I will soon explain in detail. So a platform that is categorized as large if they meet one of those criteria over there. So first one, it earns over 300 billion baht annually per platform service, and or over 1 billion baht total across all services in Thailand, or it has more than 10% of Thai population monthly active users, or about, as I mentioned, 10 million people. Now, once the platform meets those thresholds and is designated by the regulator, it must take on additional compliance obligation. For example, conducting the risk assessment, regularly examining the risk linked to their services and putting place measures to reduce those risks. And also they have the duty to implement measures to maintain system security, executing crisis management, designating compliance officer, undergo external audit. This means that they must allow independent auditors to verify that the platform is actually complying. And also they have the duty to submit a compliance report to EDA annually. Next slide, please. So for the specified platform which face additional obligations based on level of risk they pose. So there are two types mainly. First one is that if you're the platform with any determined risk or high potential impact, these are defined as platforms that could threaten financial or commercial security or undermine the reliability or credibility of messaging system or pose harm to public. And the draft also outlined the impact assessment criteria. For example, the platform may be deemed high risk if it possesses over 100 million baht in transactions, for example. But the criteria is still the draft. It still has not come out yet. And second, platform can be designated based on state agency proposal if they impact key sectors like national security, health, environment, or public utilities. So one designated, this platform must conduct risk assessment and implement safeguards, and also submit the compliance report as well. And they, if they change their terms and conditions, there are also the requirement for conducting public hearing to at least 15 days before actually implement that terms and condition. Next slide, please. So this slide, we compare the notice and takedown or notice and action regimes under the EU Digital Services Act, or DSA, and also the Thailand's Royal Decree. So I would like to emphasize how these mechanisms are relevant to combating online fraud and scam. So let's begin with the EU. So the DSA introduced a structured notice and action process where user or the trusted flagger can report illegal content, a term that includes not only IP infringement, but also hate speech and also fraudulent ads, fake investment scheme, or online website even. Once notified, the service provider or under the EU law must acknowledge the receipt of the complaint and then investigate promptly and provide the reason for any takedown decision to the affected user. And this transparency build trust and accountability. And importantly, when a scam is reported, for example, a fake commercial seller, the platform cannot ignore the report. It must act and explain why or why not. So the DSA is also required the human review appeal process. So the users aren't wrongly removed or banned by automated system. And now Thailand's situation is quite different. So under our Royal Decree on digital platform, there are currently no such obligation requiring platform to provide the notice and takedown mechanisms for the user. However, Thailand does have a notice and takedown process under another law, which is called Computer Crime Act, particularly under sections 15 and also 70. But this process is fundamentally different from the EU model. The key distinction is that Thailand's process is primarily driven by the state agencies or competent officer. There is no room for the users to report if they find a fraud or scam online. So platforms are obligated to act on official report from the authority, and there is no structured channel for the user-generated compliance at all. And the law doesn't provide for transparency like appeal rights or the review procedures if takedown is disputed. So there is no channel for you to dispute to the platform. And this law again impose the intermediary liability if platform failed to act after being officially notified. But the lack of the due process, such as the counter notice procedures or appeal mechanism, raise concern from civil society about accountability and user protection in cases of wrongful takedown. So while both systems aim to remove wrongful content, DSA is more participatory and also more transparent. Next slide, please. And this slide highlights Thailand's latest legal response to technology-related crimes, the emergency decree on technology crime, which is just enacted. So if you look at my paper, the one that in my paper is still indicate to this emergency decree as draft law because it's just been very recently enforced. So now it's already officially passed just this year. And at its core, the decree introduced a shared responsibility mechanism, and it places legal duty on various intermediaries so in here, such as telecom operators, social media platform, financial institutions, and also e-money provider and digital asset businesses to help prevent and respond to tech-related fraud and scam. And under the new regime, these entities are held jointly liable for damages caused by technology-related crime unless they can prove that they have comply with preventive standards or measures prescribed by the relevant regulator. For example, for telco, they must monitor SMS content and implement filtering system in compliance with the standards set by the organization called NBTC or National Broadcasting Telecommunication Agency. But anyway, for social media platform, which we are talking about here, they are assigned the duty by EDDA again, and we're still waiting to see like what kind of measure they will publish. For example, if it includes content moderation or cooperation on fraud prevention. And this represents paradigm shift in Thailand actually in regulatory approach because it moved from like reactive enforcement to more proactive cross-border collaboration. And this emphasis is on prevention, information sharing, and also liability exposure across value chain, not just each organization. Next slide, please. So to better understand the global approach at the European Union, they have already published the DSA or Digital Services Act, as I mentioned, in 2022, and the DSA distinguished very large online platform and search engine with over 45 million users per month and subject them to stricter obligation. And they also mandate this platform with annual system risk management, and they impose independent audit requirements. It seems that we might run out of time. Okay, then please skip this. Maybe I will just pass or skip this one, please. Okay, I will just go to this slide. So I will skip the US approach and the EU approach to Thailand approach. So let's take a closer look at the current enforcement and coordination gaps in Thailand when it comes to addressing scam and fraudulent activities online. First, while EDDA does have legal authority to issue compliance standards under the Royal Decree on Digital Platform, timeline and accountability mechanism remained absent in practice. And we still don't have the clear binding deadlines for how quickly platform must act when, for example, a scam account needs to be frozen, or a fraudulent transaction need to be reversed, for example. And this creates mismatch between the speed of scam operations and the response from time from the platform or regulator. And second, Thailand doesn't have general mandatory user to platform notice and takedown mechanism, as I mentioned earlier, like the one introduced in the EU DSA. And platform in Thailand are not legally required to offer public user reporting tools, nor do they have to provide the appeal mechanisms. And instead, Thailand's current model rely heavily on official notice. And third, platform in Thailand tends to act individually when removing scam accounts or any content, and there is no binding mechanism for cross-platform information sharing or coordination with state authorities. So this allows the fraudulent actors to simply migrate from one platform to another when taken down, undermining any single platform enforcement efforts. For example, like if you post some child pornography on Facebook, and then you got taken down by Facebook, you can just migrate that content to, for example, Instagram or something like that, or any other provider at all. And fourth, there is an issue of classification. The current classification system, as you can see, primarily use the user number to determine the obligation of each platform, and this creates unequal standard across platform, meaning that smaller platforms, which may be just as vulnerable to be misused, are not subject to the same strict rules as large ones. And this result is uneven for consumer protection. And lastly, although there is shared responsibility framework under the emergency decree, the specified technical and procedural standard for digital platform media have not yet been finalized. So we have to wait and see what is their responsibility and liability if they are not comply with this. So altogether, this gap highlights the need for stronger clarity in terms of legal and institution. Next slide, please. So based on the enforcement and coordination gap, in the paper, I highlight 4 main things that we need to do. So firstly, we need to introduce the mandatory user platform notice and action mechanisms. And we can look at European Union as a model. And second, I think Thailand should establish a shared fraud database or clearinghouse. And right now, platform is acting alone. And law enforcement has no centralized access to coordinate scam data at all. As a result, scammers are able to hop between platforms, and this is undetected. In contrast, if you look at the US model that I skipped earlier, they have the share portal through the FBI Internet Crime Compliance Center, or IC3, and it serves as a central hub where fraud report can be submitted and coordinate across agencies. And by adopting both of this approach, I think Thailand can move towards more proactive and integrate fraud response system. Next slide, please. And also, I propose 2 more recommendations, which is to introduce a duty of care pass mark and service level standard with a clear timeline. And this means that platforms should meet a minimum performance benchmark, such as how quickly they remove harmful or fraudulent content once it's flagged. And for example, the duty of care might also include responding to user complaints or takedown requests within 1 or 2 days, or having accessible compliance mechanism for fraud victims. And second, we recommend keeping size-based threshold for more demanding duties, such as mandatory audits or algorithmic risk management, but also making sure that all platforms, regardless of size, meet the baseline obligation. For example, verifying business user before allowing them to advertise, or publish clear terms and policy on fraud prevention, and keep a log of report and action taken for transparency, for example. And this in line with the EU, the DSA again. So even a small platform are not exempt from this basic public responsibility. So in conclusion, next slide, please. So I'm running out of time, right? So I think what we need now is the regime that is fast and also risk-aligned and also cooperative, not just between agency in the same country, but also between country as well. And this means creating common floor of minimum obligation for all platforms regardless of size, while accepting more from the largest player. It makes more sense. So I think we need to commonly think in every country, how can we safeguard users and also reinforce confidence in digital economy? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salil Thorn, for your insightful presentation around the scammers in Thailand. So before we're moving to the next speaker, we will have a Q&A session, the first Q&A session. So for those who have questions from the Mr. Adinova and Dr. Salil Thorn, please you can prepare your question. We will have also question probably from online participants as well. But before that, maybe I will re-invite Mr. Adinova to come forward to sit down right there, and also Dr. Salil Thorn to sit down right here. So we might receiving the question and also answer the question from the both offline and online participants. Okay, maybe the first two question or three question. Okay, the first three question. We only have around 20 minutes for this session, so let's see. The first, first 2, 3, and probably 4. I hope that we can have enough time to answer all of your questions. But maybe can you please like quickly and be direct with your questions? Thank you.
Good afternoon, all of the attendants and then also the speakers. I would first.
You can introduce yourself first.
Okay, yeah. It's okay. My name is Moses Perlindungan Opuzungu. You can call me Moses. I'm from Pantauhoax from Jakarta. We are an agency that is dealing with information integrity, like fact checking, also training for journalists and also activists. So my questions to the speakers. What is the most affected population in like Indonesia and in Thailand relating to AI scams in financial or in business sectors? So, and then the second one, could you like illuminate us into the kind of the examples of the use of AI in online scams? And because the two presentations, I think it mostly talk about the legal and also the policy frameworks, but I'm really curious about what is the visuals also, and also what is the strategy that is mainly used in scamming people, maybe on TikTok, Instagram, or any other social media avenues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Moses, for your question, and then we're moving on the second one.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vaya. I'm from Mavindo, an independent fact checker organization. In Indonesia, we have around 1,000 volunteers and also some professional fact checkers. And we received online scam reports every day. And my first question is for Mr. Andi. Yeah. Excuse me, allow me to remain seated because I have to keep an eye to my notes. Mr. Andi, you mentioned earlier that in Indonesia, the handling of online scams fall under several authorities. And you also said that this can cause problems. And I would relate this to our finding that the follow-ups or the clarification of online scams is mostly done by independent fact checkers by around 75%, and the rest is from mass media or government. I want to know, in your opinion, is this has anything to do with the problems you mentioned earlier, and what's your recommendation to as a solution for this problem? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Faya. And the next, I think, yeah, at the corner, Mas wearing blue shirt.
Hello, my name is Fabrian. So I'm not from this university. I think I'm from the personally. Okay. My work as a BPO and online merchant platform in Indonesia, and makes this topic highly relevant with my responsibility. The discussion is very deepfake and fraud is particularly crucial as we see the issue of nearly every platform, especially in the financial sector. And then my division manages customer service through social media and email, and we are also responsible for addressing fraud related related to loans and pay later service. I can attest the frequently deal with the sophisticated scheme and fraud cases that are simply too significant to overlook. Many of these schemes are executed in remarkable smoothness. Fraudsters often use similar tactic and intimidating language to create sense of urgency, pressuring victims into paying bills they either don't owe or have already paid. Customers with legitimate loans are sometimes tricked by fraudulent and invoice, even though all of its collection activities are conducted through our internal application. Despite our ongoing effort to educate customer, and my company is always educate from the bottom, the below of the email, but they have to, what is that? Still, maksudnya masih apa namanya? Yes, struggle, customer masih tidak menyadari hal itu gitu loh. Terus dari respon dari finalis kira-kira untuk menanggapi hal ini seperti apa? Karena memang taktiknya sendiri itu juga sangat-sangat apa namanya? Beberapa kasus itu juga taktiknya dari si fraudster ini melakukan hal yang intimidating tadi gitu, menggunakan bahasa intimidating seperti itu. Mungkin itu aja.
How to create customer awareness?
Yes.
Case. How?
Mungkin itu pertanyaan aku aja. Oke. Okay.
And the last one, can you please be quick in 1 minute?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Budi. I'm a graduate student from Faculty of Economics and Business. I have 2 questions. First for Dr. Sally Thorne. I heard from your presentation that in case there is a scam, each authority's link is gonna share their burden together to give a compensation. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry if
if I can explain that further, I will explain that further.
Can you elaborate more? Because like, for instance, like there's a voice scam, like someone's call you through phone and then they got your information, they get into your bank account, like their telco, there's a bank and others. How does it work?
Okay.
Probably if you can elaborate a little bit more. And for Mr. Adinova, I think like one of the reasons why this international cooperation might be difficult to happen because they both each country has different arrangement regulation and might have not been synchronized yet. How do you find it, and do you have any suggestion? I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Mas Bobby, for your interesting questions. So I think we'll move on with our speakers here in answering the really interesting question from participant who wants to go first.
I can go first.
Okay.
Maybe start with this gentleman question. So can you
Okay.
please go back to my slide regarding the share responsibility? Oh, it's not sharing. Sorry. So basically, the idea of share responsibility is not new at all. If you follow the model of the, for example, the UK and also Singapore, they also use this model of share responsibility as well, meaning that firstly, like for example, in the UK, if like someone got scammed through the online means, like the financial institution, they need to pay for everything first, reimburse to the victim first, and the victim has the limit, maximum ceiling that they have to pay or be responsible. But apart from that, the financial institution will pay to the victim first, unless the financial institution can prove that that person is in gross negligence. Like for example, they don't create the password at all for their financing app, for example. And in Singapore, they have this layer model of shared responsibility, meaning that they will have to prove if some case occur. The first one is through the bank. If the bank has fulfilled all their responsibilities to prevent this kind of transaction to occur, for example, they have all the safeguard measures, security measure, both technically and organizationally, in order to prevent such kind of bad transaction. Then the responsibility will go to telco, telecommunication. So, and in that case, they will have to prove, like, if telco has already fulfilled their responsibility as well. And if the telco has fulfilled all their responsibility, then the responsibility goes to the victims. So that is how the system in Singapore works. And for Thailand, we adopt similar kind of share responsibility, but not in layer system like Singapore. So meaning that if there will be organization that set standards and measures for telco to comply. For example, they must have some kind of detection mechanism between communication line, and that if they fulfill, they don't need to be responsible. And also for financial institutions as well, if they have fulfilled all the safeguard mechanisms, they also don't need to be responsible. But if someone in the total sub-value chain has like any gap or don't do their duties, then they must be liable. So I hope that answers your question. But interestingly, for Thailand, I think it's the only place, as far as I know, that also introduced the share responsibility for social media, for online platform.
Thank you so much. I think we're going to move on to the first question from Moses. I think I see this question, it's quite interesting because from your both presentation, we can see that the types of scammers is actually different in this, at least maybe in Indonesia and also in Thailand. Probably in Indonesia, we are really familiar with online gambling or such as online loan or scam, providing loans and stuff like that. But in Thailand, it's more like a online shopping scams that you mentioned is the most popular scammers in Thailand. So probably we can relate to the question from Mas Moses. How is the operation of these scammers is actually different probably in Thailand and Indonesia, because maybe not all the participants here are familiar with the type of the scams in Thailand and Indonesia. Yeah. And how what are the effective ways to dealing with that? Thanks.
Okay, I can. Maybe you can start.
So yeah, it's actually yes and no, because we have a database in a global anti-scams alliance, for example, to show the ranking between which type of scams that we encounter the most in Indonesia, in Thailand, across Asia Pacific. Yes, it differs, but it's not really quite significant, the difference, if you know what I mean. So for examples like and I think now all types of scams, at least for me, I think I can see it in a way that yes, it happens in other countries, but it also happens in Indonesia. For examples like romance. This is also something that is very interesting type of scams, because I don't think it exists before. The romance scams where you join the dating apps and then you ask for you lure the significant others into the traps and to believe you more, and then after that, the scam happened. And there's also a case in the e-commerce sector. So I don't really see the significant difference between country for the type of scams, but the strategy is quite different from time to time. If you still remember, I think Mama Minta Pulsa, if you remember about this, it's a very famous in Indonesia. Mom asking for a for a for a token. So yeah, it's a very common type of scams, and probably if we are in older generations, we receive that type of text at least once in our life, and now it's no longer there, but it evolves. Now we receive APK or invitation wedding in your WhatsApp. Have you received about that? So there's a evolutions of type of scams. And you mentioned about the online gambling, and I will also come into your questions about what is exactly the main challenges in the international cooperations, because one of the main challenges is actually the definitions of scams itself. So for examples like crypto, is it a scams or not? That's a question, right? Gambling, is it a scams or not? So yes, in Indonesia it's illegal, but in other countries it's not. So it's not a scams in other countries, but it may be the scams in Indonesia. Is it crypto really scams or not? That's a very, you can say it's a scams, but it's illegal in other countries to invest it in crypto. So the different definitions of what is exactly scams is something that we also need to discuss. But you cannot come into conclusion what is actually one main definition of scams, because different nations have their own law, different regulations, their own perspectives on what is actually scams. So it's not going to, we cannot push one agenda, but we can have like some common perspective, common standards. For example, what is exactly our definitions of scams, what is exactly the definition of scams in Thailand, in Vietnam, and then if we can come across one common definitions, okay, if this is happen, it's scams, and then we can have like a joint forces, it may lead to somewhere, but we cannot push it into one agenda, what is exactly a scams activity. So I think that is one of the challenge so far. If I may take into other questions as well. So, and your questions is about the how the fact checking receive more from the victims, right? Is it because of we have so many or confusions in terms of the which authority is actually responsible to address the scams? I cannot say because of that aspect, but I think what I wanted to emphasize is I think we have to fight together. I mean, we cannot leave these issues into the government. So the government has their role. Yes, it is important to create a one single contact point, because right now, even me, if I get scams, do I have to report it to OJK or do I have to report it to ComDG with their hotline? It's a very confusing. In the ministries of economy, Kemenko Econ, yeah, ministries of econs is also, they also have the consumers protections as a body. They also have their own hotlines. So yeah, a lot of things. But what I wanted to emphasize is that every organizations have to take a responsibility so that we can move forward. So a platform has their own responsibility to how do they trying to stop. I think the role of telco industry is also very important, because everything when we go to the e-commerce or digital services, we use our phone numbers, right? So if we have a good data infrastructures on that aspects, we can also limit the scams. And as a CSO, I think we can increase our awareness. We can have a fact checking. We can help to help the victims when they comes. But I think what I wanted to emphasize is that. And to your questions about the wait, I forgot. What is exactly yes, the how do we increase the awareness level, right? How do we effectively increase the awareness? So I don't really have the answer to that, but I think every campaign is a very important one. So for example, I think there are some platforms that are doing a mini game to increase the awareness level. That's also very important. Having giving a campaign with a different way, not just by lecturing them, by giving the game a game and story as well. I think that's a very, very important aspect. But what I wanted to emphasize is that in our study, it shows that be careful to not be overconfident, because that is, if you look at the surveys of Indonesian populations, they are
To answer the questions about the AI generated scam. So in Thailand, like the form is pretty similar to what Indonesian is facing. For example, they use the face and the voice of their daughter, and then they make a phone call to their parents. And I think the most common victim for the AI generated scam are elderly people, because there is a study showing that elderly people are likely to not be able to detect which one is AI generated voice or generated picture or the content. And actually I have one case, a very famous case in Thailand. It's called Gold Factory case. It's what's showing on the slide as well, but I don't have the time to go through that. So this case is that like some Chinese, not Thailand, not in Thailand, but like they are operating from China. So they were making this fake pension app. And then the old people, they download this app, and then this app asking for their biometric data. For example, they must turn on their camera and then move in, move out, and then speak. And that way they steal their biometric data. And this, why do they need their biometric data? This is because the Bank of Thailand, they set their standard that if you want to withdraw or transfer the money of over 50 100,000 baht. You need to identify your data through biometric means. Like, for example, you must turn on your camera, you must blink twice and then move your head or something like that. So there are that kind of stuff. So they use this app and then steal the money from the elderly people. So that comes to answer your question. I still cannot figure out how we can educate elderly people about AI literacy and also about deepfake. I think it's very challenging, and probably we need more study on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for both Mr. Adinova and also Dr. Salil Thorn. Maybe we can give round of applause for both speakers. Yeah. Due to our time limitation, maybe you can. That's all right. It's okay. Maybe I will also. Yeah. Maybe you may sit back to your chair, and then to continue our presentation and also discussion. Now I will call Ms. Tran Lu Lee, lecturer from University of Languages and International Studies, VNU, to present your presentation around the how AI combating the scam. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, my name is Lee and I'm from Vietnam. This is my presentation. Can you turn it on, please? Yes, that one. And yes, this is the presentation, and mine is the confronting the rise of AI-powered scams, and this is some insights of Vietnam multi-stakeholder response, and we want to empower resilience in AI, which is generative artificial intelligence. Next slide, please. Thank you. Nope. Yeah, so this is our S-shaped country. So we have, the good news is that we have just have a new policy on, how can I say, politics. And later I will touch on this. Thanks to this new emergence, how can I say, relocations of the provinces, so the online scams have been greatly reduced. So we face some challenges in generative AI and also in scams. So we have, so GAI refers to the advanced artificial intelligence technologies. We have synthetic content, and synthetic content relates to images, videos generated by AI. And the challenges we have here is it is becoming very sophisticated. Thousands of people have been scammed and frauded each year and even each day. Yesterday, actually, my mom, she called me from Vietnam. A guy phoned her, and in Vietnam we use Zalo, Z-A-L-O, and he told my mom that you haven't paid the electricity bill. So this is quite common, right? And then you have to pay, otherwise the power will be cut, power cut in the whole family. So then my mom said, we have already paid because we have the online payment. But then the other guy from the phone, can read exactly, how can I say, the ID of our house because we live in an apartment. And then she said, my mom said, she started to believing that. What a surprising truth for me, because we always watch television every day. And then the moment that she is about to have the online payment, and then the other guy, the scam guy, said, you have two choices. The first one is you can do the online banking to me by pressing the link. And the other one is you can go to the office, like the physical office. Lots of people are reluctant to go to the office because of the distance and we have to travel. Then my dad is quite traditional. He said, go to the office. He doesn't like online banking. He even thought that Bluetooth is costing some money. And then my mom says, okay, I will cut off the phone now. I will pay you later. And then my mom called me, and then I said, this is a scam, Mom. We often listen to this on the internet, from the television. So you see, it's becoming sophisticated. How can the scammers get our ID? Because it's not relisted on the internet. And even our names, our date of birth, the telephone numbers, even where we live and where we work, they know that. It's becoming really sophisticated and complex. And our scammers now leverage deepfakes, of course, manipulated media, AI-generated content, deceive victims, making fraud harder to detect. Actually, I just pulled out an ID card. This one is used in this one is identification card. So we have the chip at the back. I'm not sure this is the same in your country. We have the QR code. We have the face, which is our faces. And then, yes, and we have even the app. It's called VNeID. So if we want to leverage, we want to update the app, and we don't have to use this card at the airport. But then many scammers somehow they get the information from the apps, and they use defects like this. Even blink twice in the eyes, and turn around and turn left. They can use that. Lots of people get scammed and have a lot of money being stolen, being taken away by the scammers. So yes, again, Vietnam is experiencing a very same slide, please. Next, previous. Yes, rapid digital transformation marked by we have digital commerce, mobile payments, especially now the trend is to buy now, pay later. Yeah, you know that, right? Yes, e-commerce, Shopee, Lazada, yes, and it's quite economically beneficial, but then it is a hotspot for online fraud, especially people use social media a lot, but then not for being aware of being fraud, but for TikTok, and thus creating the terms called brain rot. You know that? Brain rot, you watch a lot and you don't know what you are watching. So the study aims to identify critical gaps in current legal frameworks, propose actionable strategies for effective improvement, and examine how government, private sector, and civil society addressing AI-powered scams. Next slide, please. Thank you. Research focus, and we have here, comprehensively understand nuanced responses from various stakeholders. We have government responses, we have private sector actions, and we have civil society's role. Because VNU is a part of the government, so we can get very good contact with the government agencies. So the government's responses is to how effectively do existing legal and also regulatory frameworks in Vietnam address these issues, and are they adequate or not? For private sector actions, what measures are companies in finance, telecommunications, and e-commerce, the challenges they're facing? And for civil society's role, what are the challenges, and whether we need, how we can, awareness raising, provide support, building community resilience against AI-powered scams. We'll skip on that. Yes, next slide, methodology. Yes. So methodology, this is the most important part actually in your research. So we use qualitative approach to have deep insights in the complex landscape. So we have interviews, we have surveys for detailed insights. We have 11 key organizations, and the research took place in 2 months. We have stakeholders like governments, private sector, and civil society. For government sectors, we have 1 deputy head, 1 senior officer from ministries. We have ministries involved, and we have ministries of communications, telecommunications, MOET, Ministry of Education and Training, and also Ministry of Defense. For private sector, we often have the senior director and specialists, and senior engineer from banks, telecommunication, e-commerce, for academia and civil society. We invite some from universities, researchers, institutes, and want to do further on policy analysis, public education. Next slide, please. And this is the government responses, current state and critical needs. So we, in the research, have identified some challenges. First of all, is the outdated law and legal frameworks. As in your research, you have seen that we have the law on customer protection, right? So from in Indonesia is from 1990, right? Am I correct? In Vietnam is about 2008, which is a long time ago. It has been amended, but not yet compared to AI or technology. As I've spoken with another speaker, we are always behind technology. Technology is increasing daily. Even ChatGPT has just launched number 5 several days ago. And within 1 year, we see number 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, and 5 several days ago. So just in fact, legal framework or regulations or laws, if we expect to catch up with the technology, so I don't think this is a very good approach. Fragmented coordination efforts between ministries are disappointed with limited collaboration among mechanisms for scam incidents. Why is that? Because technology in general, as we heard, as we think, is for, how can I say, for natural sciences, right? So we divide it into natural sciences and social sciences. Yesterday when I went to Jakarta, the taxi driver told me that this university is divided into 2 parts, right? One is for natural and the other one is social sciences. So technology is preferred to the first part. And once if we do research on technology and math is related to something very, how can I say, complex. So once we face something difficult, we tend to be taken aback. We tend to be not confident. So how? That's why we have limited collaboration. Why is that? Because we don't know what AI is. We know that AI is artificial intelligence, but what can we do for AI or what can we gain from AI, we don't know. Limited detection capacity, of course, because law enforcement agencies, we don't have advanced tools and expertise required. We have the experts, but as I said, technology is always advancing, so we are behind technology to be fact. So there are some recommendations for government action. We have legal reform. Actually, we have the regulations and law on artificial intelligence, but not yet we have on online scams or fraud. We need to centralize reporting platform. At the moment, once the victim face any fraud or scams, they just report to the public securities. And the public security says, we will do something, we'll do some investigation, we search for the criminals, and then if the criminals are not yet to be found, then the victims are just there. Investment in training, I think this one is very important. As I mentioned, technology is always advancing. We need to be aware, very well aware, and we need to have a good prevention, and training and education can do great help with this one. From private sector responses, opportunities for proactive defense. So we have some current technology measures. Some may employ identity verification tools and robust transaction monitoring systems. And even in the banks, they don't use technology, they use intuition, which is from ourselves. Several news reports have been reported that one very old lady, elderly, she wants to transfer a large amount of money. But then the banker, from her intuition, says, what for? And this large of money is really skeptical. So then she called the police. So in some cases, technology is good. And in some cases, I think intuition in that cases does the work. And we have some challenges and needs. We have to have reactive measures, regulatory ambiguity, this is the challenges. So private sector, what do they need? They need clearer regulations. I don't know if there's the same in your country, bureaucracy, paperwork, the same. Private sector, if they want to have clearer rules and regulations, they must have very good network with the government agencies. Because in this section, they are the third party. They are enterprises, SMEs. If they don't have very good network, somehow they cannot make count, they cannot have a clear understanding of the regulations. Enhance collaboration, of course. We have formal, secure information, and we have sharing platforms with sectors to improve collective and also detection and responses between the two. Next slide, please. For civil society and academia, there are some recommendations. The campaigns are good, but how? The question is, how can you convey the campaigns? Some campaigns are delivered just as a way to have the budget reimbursement at the end of every year, right? As an interpreter myself, at the end of every year, the interpreters are always on demand because they have to do the budget reimbursement. But how we can do that? For students, I teach at the universities, how we can teach actually the students. One student of mine in third year in water resources, yes, he got scammed. About 500,000 VND compared, it's about $20,000. How he got scammed? One scammer sent a picture of a document from him saying that you are selected to receive this scholarship. And if you want to secure the spot in the scholarship, receivers, you have to transfer to us a certain amount of money. And he transfers. He literally transfers the money to the scammer without any acknowledgement, without any knowledge of being scammed. So I think campaigns here is not as effective as someone very close to us got scammed. You think so? Because we hear a lot from television, from communications, from TV. But then if the person very close to us got scammed, I think it's the best campaign ever, right? Create victim support systems. This one is good. In Thailand, you have Singapore, you have the reimbursement for the victims, right? But not yet in Vietnam because we have tight budget on that. And we have fostered research and education. Research is important, but education. For lecturers, for teachers, they need to be very well aware. Actually, when I graduated, I was trained to be an interpreter. So when I went to conferences, I listened to AI or technology 2 years ago. I am the person to interpret that kind of information. But for my colleagues who teaches German or languages or any PE, they're not being aware of AI because they think that they just need to be aware of what they teach, not other fields. So as university lecturers or teachers ourselves or themselves, the interdisciplinary education and training is crucial. 5 more minutes, it's very important, yes. Interdisciplinary. Yeah, early warning systems. Develop educational materials. When we think of materials, what do you think? Leaflets, brochures. In some NGOs, non-governmental organizations like Save the Children, the Child Fund, or even World Vision International, they have very good videos with even AI-generated pictures and characters, and the children and also the adults learn from that kind of materials. Not very long text, but very, how can I say, user-friendly materials. And I think education here can come from the person, from the victims. The victims is a very great source when we want to convey the story. And even the person who got failed or who got some problems with AI. This morning we listened to a professor from Nanyang University, right? He had an AI startup and he failed. So the best lesson, I think, is not listen to the successful stories, but listen to what we have drawn from the failure, from the failed stories. I think it's better. Next slide, please. So discussion here is persistent challenges and critical gaps. So there are some fragmented responses, significant legal gaps, and technological deficiencies. Current scam detection tools are really outdated. For phones, in Vietnam, I'm not sure whether in your country, do you use Truecaller? Once strange number call, and then it can be scammers, and I don't take that call. I will copy the numbers, paste into Truecaller to see who is calling, because the verified callers can appear the names. I can search. Get contact. We use Truecaller in Vietnam, and we use Zalo. Most of telephone numbers are registered on Zalo, but it's quite outdated. Yeah. Enforcement agencies lack the capacity and advanced technology required identity, manipulated content, investigating complex AI-based fraud, especially now thousands of and hundreds of people is using TikTok. Last, next slide, please. This is a policy recommendations for resilient digital future. Legal reform, exactly, very important. Updated some existing laws on cybersecurity, on AI, and even on online scam and fraud. Introducing clear penalties. Recently, the penalties in Vietnam is quite not so heavy. Only 5 million VND equivalent to 300 USD. Not so heavy for scammers. And cross-sector collaboration. We have secure platforms to sharing scam data across government. Last year in Manila, the Philippines, ASEAN, they hosted a conference on anti-scam. And for children, thousands of people gather around to see what can we protect children against online scam and fraud. Public engagement, yes, digital literacy, besides computer literacy. Literacy here not only to use, but how and what for. Into school curricula. School curricula here not only mean math or English or literature, but then how we can utilize the knowledge into daily life. I think is more important than doing math and stuff. Community programs focusing on AI fraud detection. Lots of lecturers and university teachers avoiding this because they're not sure what they are doing. So the teachers and teachers and lecturers themselves need to have good knowledge of that. Launch nationwide awareness campaigns, educate again. Launch campaigns is a very good initiative, but the question is how is more important than doing campaigns. So there are some key takeaways in my presentation. Last, thank you. Yes, because of the outdated laws, we need to fix on outdated laws, fragmented responses, limited detection capabilities. Therefore, the need for legal reform and cross-sector collaboration and public education is urgent than ever. And so that's why we have to have holistic governance model and ensuring public trust. So this is the end of my presentation. Last is the reference. Yes. We cited into APA to ensure the, academic integrity. Yeah, so this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for Ms. Lee for your presentation, for broaden up our understanding around the multi-stakeholder perspective, seeing this generative AI. And the last but not least, I would like to welcome Ms. Dian Kartika Rahajeng, who will deliver a presentation on the trustworthiness of AI and the moral reasoning behind the generative AI utilization. For Ms. Ajeng, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Wow, I have a very big task, yeah. Last presenter for the day. So I'm the only barrier for you and your nap? No, yeah, I do not hope you. So, okay, hi everyone. My name is Dian Kartika Rahajeng, and I'm from next door, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and one of you is my students here. Make sure you still behave well. So, yeah, today I would like to share with you, trying to summarizing, but somehow I'm gonna give you some takeaways, yeah, because this is a quite heavy materials. We talk about ethics, yeah. Can we trust AI? With some of you perhaps already summarizing from the previous from keynote speaker from 2 days, basically you already have your answer. But let's discuss. Can we really trust AI? Yeah, even though Lais already started the questions, what is AI? So I'm trying to understand the background behind and AI itself. Can we trust AI or not? The moral reasoning, the ethics, what is behind AI? Next slides, please. Please be in touch at my email address. So I'm not gonna rephrase the previous statement, but basically, of course, yeah, the basic takeaways of the understanding AI is, of course, is because this innovation, the technological innovation, is quite promising. Even the previous Prof. Tan already mentioning that 3/4 is helpful. The quarter is the challenge. Even though I'm not pretty much agree with that, but basically we have to underline, yes, there is a promising technological innovations, but there is also complex, yeah, especially moral implications in terms of utilizing AI in our daily basis. Next, please. So this is I'm drafting, rooting from the previous literature. So I'm standing in the shoulder of giants. Yeah, as you could see, really grasping from many literature that underlining AI, the advancement of AI, understanding the ethics point of view of AI. Basically, without trying to overly simplifying it, you could see the opportunities and challenges, of course. Yeah. Restating my previous opinion that I quite disagree that AI is most likely helping us, but that's because we are sometimes preventing ourselves for seeing the challenge and the potential harms. Yeah, we kind of rationalizing. Okay, I'm teaching fraud in my faculty. I'm teaching fraud forensics. So basically, one of the basic fraud theories about rationalizations. Yeah, the fraud triangles. We're trying sometimes to rationalize the usage of AI, which sometimes to some extent, it helps us, but in a way, it's push us away from the basic ethics that we do have. Yeah, so sometimes it's helping us only this time. So please be aware that we have to really make sure whether the AI is really helps us. Yeah, given the opportunities of course its capacity, engaging learning experience and so on. But the ultimate challenge, not only the espionage, not in the corporate espionage itself, but also the threat, not only financial threat, but also non-financial ones. Yes, because sometimes people fail to see the non-financial damage of the AI utilizations that actually harms us. So that's the key. That's why back on the main questions, can we really trust AI? And also with disinformation of campaign, yeah, previously Dr. Maria in the plenary session underlining about the democracy utilizations of AI as well, that kind of harms the, voters' information, providing false narratives. And recently, the deepfakes, yeah, not only affecting the financial reports, but also the non-financial, informations. Which maybe the very latest information that we just got, the deepfakes, the considered deepfakes products, yeah, when the Minister of Finance that literally becoming the victims of deepfakes. Well, we have another argument whether it's really deepfakes or not, yeah. Whether it's real certificates or not, well, I'm not going to discuss about that. But basically, so we see the real damage, yeah, that easily swaying public opinion on something. Not only talking about pornography, bullying, cyberbullying, and other harassment that of course causing distress and emotional damage for any level of people. Yeah, so this is not This is the real challenge. If we're really counting it as, I bet it's going to be more challenges and harms that may be caused. But yes, of course, there's an opportunity. So let's be aware of that. What is the key? Yeah, perhaps one of my takeaways of today is the fraud preventions. Yeah, if we cannot really trust AI, then to whom we could put our trust into? Yeah, maybe that's the main takeaways. Next slides, please. So we see from that you know, the literature itself is underlining the implications, yeah, of AI. Not only challenging the traditional ethical frameworks, yeah. Well, I'm trying to summarizing one semester class of ethics into 10 minutes less presentations. But basically, in traditional ethics, there's so many theories that I do believe it will come in terms of, you know, responsibility, yeah, of making decisions. So basically, there are so many range of ethical concerns using any ethical theories that including the AI utilizations, that it is really essentials for us to challenge this. Next slides, please. To also demanding that we have to really understanding the perceptions of the creators. Yeah. So my main message in my paper is really the human moral perceptions is fundamental, because AI at this level, yeah, perhaps if we conduct these seminars like not 10 years, but 5, even 2 or 5 years from now, the situations may differ. But basically, at least for now, the human perceptions, the creators, is becoming the central, yeah. So maybe the main question is, can we trust ourselves? Yeah. Now, can we trust the AI? Is AI trustworthy? Or the main question is, can we really trust the creator or the perception that has been delivered through the AI products? Yeah. So understanding behind the human moral perceptions, it's becoming important for us again to maintain our critical thinking. Yeah. Well, I'm also AI users, but the more you're being exposed, I mean, the very simple tasks you give to the ChatGPT, the lesser critical thinking you may have. That's the brain rot that was you mentioned about, yeah, the rooted brain. Not only you don't know what you are looking at, but you are losing your brain capacity. You're losing the critical thinking that is essential as a human being. So that's the maintenance. Make sure that you didn't lose the main reason, yeah, moral reasoning of this AI. So human perceptions is fundamental. Next slides, please. So I think the main questions is really understand behind AI, moral reasoning of the AI utilizations. I'm using qualitative data. So everyone that's not familiar with qualitative, do not see it from the N samples. Yeah, I've been challenged a lot with most of the reviewers that they don't know what they're talking about. How come quantitative for only this? Yeah, I was like, yes, this is qualitative. Yeah, so basically, I conduct many methods, not only interviews, semi-structured interviews, FGDs, and also from the documentary analysis. My respondents is 21 is could give you, it could get your PhD anyway. My PhD is 38 respondents, so you could imagine the abundance of data. So what I'm saying is, I'm trying to capture the perspective from at least, you know, various contexts from the global organization, not only in Indonesia, but also in France, Switzerland, Netherlands, and Germany. Yeah, by interviewing the 21 entry-level managers. I do admit that there are bits like with the demography, it's still dominated with 71.4 females. Yeah, it will be, yeah. So that's one of the weaknesses that I have to admit. Quite balanced, yeah. Maybe another context, maybe another advantage, but basically this is a lot to maintain the validity. Qualitative researchers make sure that they do their work to maintain the strengths of the findings, so the data is robust and well supported. Next slide, please. So basically, the main findings is I quote one of my respondents from Netherlands. Robots, yeah, as one of the AI implementations, are actually tools that created, programmed by human beings. Yeah, of course we do know that. But are we aware that their autonomy is artificial, meaning it really depends on the creators? Okay? So, the AI, yeah, despite its effectiveness, is still controlled by the human beings. Yeah. So the creator is still being the center, yeah, of this AI. The stakeholders that's been involved, not only the programmer, the creator, even the company itself also have message. So I have agreed to disagree with the previous speakers that saying technology is near values. I mean, it has zero values. The technology itself, yeah, it has, it still deliver values from the creators, yes. Next. So, it is still a need of this human-centric accountability. So the creators is still becoming the key, yeah, of this AI utilizations. Meaning, yeah, one of my case that I've been given in my FGD that I give them, you know, how if we abuse robot, like, you know, robots to go to Mars, for instance, and the robot will be, you know, broken and something, you know. Is robot have rights? Is robot entitled of any rights for not being destroyed? Or perhaps in any extreme conditions, or perhaps in any other, you know, functions that perhaps you know more than I do. They said that, well, granting rights can be established, meaning some limitations, but robot or AI adaptations is not a moral agent. Yeah, it's not changing the way we think. Next slide. It's becoming the, comes to the very core of my presentations, but basically this is another findings that I wrote it from the documentary analysis, yeah, simple word clouds, that it seems that you see from here that there are many people, not only creators, programmers, corporations, but there are many people that has been involved directly and indirectly becoming an enablers and imposters. So they are the one that's giving the color of this AI. Yeah, they are the one that giving the values, meaning the product that you use, the moral message that you've got from this AI implementations, that their colors is their creators' colors. Yeah, maybe if we are in the very, very advanced AI later, and they could be like literally artificial intelligence that, you know, if somebody here like, you know, watching iRobot, it was a while ago, but basically somehow it's still relevant. But, you know, once they're becoming us, then maybe we could come again to these discussions. But how is us? Who is us? Yeah. But in here, we see that there are, you know, still need for human, robust human oversight and interventions, so that the deepfake, we believe that, you know, there are not Minister of Finance that's saying that, even though the message is clear. We know about who or whom we are, what information that we could get. This is actually the key. This I mentioned about one semester class into one slide. So you see that actually in the ethical theories, there we call the cognitive moral development. Yeah, each of us passing through a certain level of moral development. So, starting from the first stage to the stage 6, yeah, you see from there, it seems that age is defining at which moral developments are we at the moment. Yeah, you could see from Velasquez's book or any ethics book. This is the one of the classic ethical theory of cognitive moral development. So we see that somebody, you know, making decisions, perhaps simply because first they avoid punishment. It means that they are still in this pre-conventional in stage 1. So simply, I don't want my mom to be mad at me. Yeah, because they're imitating the 3 to 7, 8 years old. Yeah. So this first stage, you know, acting to avoid the punishment, acting to further one's of interest. Oh, because my mom asked me to do this, and I love my mom, and I would like to do so. So sometimes the creator of AI, I mean, the any human that creates AI shares or deliver their moral stage to its creations, and its creations is still reaching to the level which humans currently at. Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with me? So basically, maybe there are 1 or 2 rare occasions that we could create a very sophisticated AI that could reach the level 5 and 6. But this level 5 and 6 is, you know, okay, I'm gonna simply summarizing it. Meaning the pre-conventional, you do what's the morally right to do based on, you know, the external element. Yeah, because to avoid punishment, because somebody asked you to do so. Or if you go to the more mature or more higher level, mean your judgments because you're kind of aware that this is the moral order in the community. Like, you know, the good boy attitude and law and order morality. The very utmost high level is there are no such moral standards anymore, but you have to critically think whether this is the morally right or not. Yeah, I'm not talking about legally right, yeah, because that's totally different matters. Morally right and morally wrong is something much more bigger than legally right or wrong. And next slides, please. Based on that stage, Gen AI's ability is still not reaching that level. Yeah. They are still maybe in the lower level, even though their creator is already perhaps in the stage 5 or 6. But we are not reaching the AI technology advancement that high, even though that's what professor is saying. The whole text still cannot feed the AI, meaning they will come into one conclusion, right? The simplifications. But moral is not that simple. It needs so many deliberations. It needs so many factors that should be considered for making only one decision, whether right or wrong, to kill somebody, yeah? Or to, you know, once AI using in the surgery, whether right or wrong to cut this, you know, veins, for instance. So their inability to replicate the human capacity for post-conventional. That's humans having this capacity for post-conventional. Human has capacity for reaching the utmost stage of convention for moral development. The question is perhaps humans don't want to really reach that level, or they're unable to reach that level. Yeah. Next. So this is what the previous presentations was mentioning. Yeah, like Lee mentioned that the legal frameworks is always lagging behind, because the advancement of deepfake is like an arms race. It's always like they are 2, 3 steps ahead. And the current government, talking about synchronizations is issue. Talking about database synchronization is already issue. If you are talking about the legal products, that's like different planet, yeah. I mean, like that's a long way to go. But we have to really start it from now, otherwise it could be more lagging behind. So, next question. So my last slides. Can we really trust AI? Yeah, we will perhaps have your own answer, but I don't think that AI could really be that trustworthy. Yeah, because we know that they are much more than having a creation and having solution of something, you know, but making decisions still have a further complex decision-making stage that, you know, moral reasoning should be becoming the human part, yeah. So understanding the fundamental human capacities to becoming the robust monitoring in AI is remain indispensable. Meaning, in the fraud detections, in the fraud preventions, to prevent. We know that the legal is still lagging behind. We know that we cannot really trust AI. You cannot really trust ChatGPT. You know that, right? So who can you trust? Yeah, to whom you could trust? The answer is yourself. Meaning, you have to make sure you maintain your values, you maintain your ethics, yeah, you maintain your moral development, yeah. You make sure you are in the stage that your biological age level. Because there are people that aging like 50 years old, but they have a moral development aging 7 years old, only because their boss asking me to do so. Yeah, and that's not really nice. Meaning, can we trust AI? We cannot. But can I trust you? Can you trust yourself? That's becoming your another queue of questions. I'm gonna stop here. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ajeng, for very insightful understanding around the morality of using AI. But I would like to invite you again to come forward for Dr. Ajeng and Miss Lee to come forward for our last Q&A session. Please sit down. And then maybe I'll have only around 10 minutes max for this Q&A session. Maybe I'll take the first two questions first from the participants. Yeah, Mbak Faya, and maybe another one from okay. Nah. Okay, we'll begin taking the questions.
Hello, it's me again, Vaya from Mavindo. Before asking any question, I want to share a story from our social media team. It's kind of funny story. It started with their curiosity about the accuracy of AI detection tools. So to make it short, I'm not sure what tools they tested, but usually we use various kind of tools like Hive moderation and the likes. But to make it short, they inserted an original content to the tools, and it turns out that the tools said that the content is AI made. So there was an accuracy issue there. That's why our fact checkers often prioritize or prefer using cross-referencing from reliable sources than using AI detection tools. And my question is, how can the scientific and tech communities improve AI detection models to make them more reliable and trustworthy to professional fact checkers and people in general? And what roles should these tools play in comprehensive anti-fraud strategy? Okay.
Thank you, Mbak Faya.
Thank you.
And next, Mbak. Okay. Maybe that's Mbak Faya. I'm just like confirming that question for both speakers, right? Okay. Thank you, Mbak. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jauza Slamia Putri. You can call me Jauza. Okay. Hello, Mrs. Ajeng and Mrs. Lu. This is I want to ask about moral reasoning and how we use AI. And I think that's how can we make sure AI reasonings doesn't just reflect Western values, but also respect diverse of culture, ethics, and local wisdom of Asia, especially in Indonesia. Okay, this. Thank you.
Jose, for your question. Okay, it's a very interesting presentation from our speakers around the use of AI. And I don't know, probably I have like one additional question. Since like Mbak Ajeng talking about the ethics, and I would like to ask about how we differentiate the use of generative AI with the technology development, such as previously probably when we search for literature, we always go to library, like the traditional one. We search for the book and stuff, but now we have like Google Scholars or maybe other generative AI that we're using. And how, you know, I'm asking, perhaps, do you think that that's still ethical? You know, is it just another technological development, how you differentiate, you know, which one it's ethical and not ethical, since probably it's not much different with the technological development that we have. And probably should we have like more specific description around what kind of generative AI that you means by not ethical? Should we have like grouping or selecting, oh, this one it's, you know, maybe, I might be wrong. Is there any like grouping which, because there are so many different of platforms, there are so many different of technology around generative AI. So should we have like specific description around which AI that not ethical, and probably there is certain Gen AI that's still ethical? Yeah, maybe you can also continue with answering questions from the participants. Thank you, Mbak Ajeng.
Okay, maybe I'll start first. I'm going to start with the last question, the one that I still remember. The first question is her task, yeah, to remember it for us. All right, thanks very much for the questions, yeah. I have to be clear, yeah, that we cannot really, my main presentations, can we trust AI? And it's end up into the main, a quite quote-unquote pre-conclusion that can we trust ourselves? So it's not about the AI, it's not about the GNAI, it's not about the tools, but it was us. Yeah, whether we are using AI responsibly, morally responsible or not. Because yes, I do admit that, there's so many AI utilization that's very much beneficial for us, especially as a researcher, There's nothing wrong with using a Google Scholar or Perplexity or research paper, yeah, and research rabbit and so on, yeah. It's fine. But the first question is, the intentions, yeah. Yeah, in fraud case, the mens rea, is there any bad intentions for you to using the AI, yeah. Because if there's like really like bad intentions, oh, I have a deadline, 5 minutes, oh, shoot, easy. Of course, in a blink of eye, depends on the command, depends on the tools, just submitting it. But is that you? Is that your voice? Once I'm asking you this, you totally know what your answer, right? This is not my voice, this is the AI's voice, and perhaps, Lee's voice, perhaps, Josa's voice. But, ma'am, I'm citing it. I'm paraphrasing it, yeah. Well, in terms of making avoid ourselves from plagiarism, paraphrase and cite, that's great, but you have to have also your voice. I mean, in terms of students, making paper essays, you have to have your voice, and you have to use the tools responsibly. Meaning, fine, you can read whatever you want, but once you cite from the responsible sources. You take from the responsible tools, and you use it ethically. Yeah, in many papers, in many journals, they ask you to explicitly state it. Yeah, I also use that, and I explicitly stated that I use the AI to helping me, usually most likely for proofreading part. Yeah, without making there's a specific statement that you use AI for this capacity. So I'm not gonna limiting you for using the technological advancements, no. But I'm asking you for not limiting yourself for your ability to criticize it. Criticize what you've read, what you've got from the AI. Is that really what you're looking for? AI is only the tools, you are the pilot. I'm gonna blame the pilot. I'm gonna blame you if you don't want to improve your ethical, your moral cognitive stage. Yeah, you're not a toddler, you're an adult, supposed to be responsible adult. Yeah, so you have to make sure that what you got from the AI would really helps you, and I am the control, I'm the boss here, yeah. Yeah, so I am the captain, yeah. Watch me, I am the captain. So that's the first was Joseph's questions is, yeah, Faya's Joseph's.
To improve the detection tools to detect AI, and also about the what's that the yeah, that's the first question.
Yes, I'm gonna ask her Joseph's questions first because it's quite close to. So now I forgot the questions. Yeah. So that's why I'm using AI to help me remember. Help me remembering those, not providing me with answers. Yeah, and so basically, for what is it, Joseph?
Yeah,
So what's your
can you briefly summarize again your question, please? Oh yeah, reflect the Western.
yeah. So we cannot. I mean, basically, that's why I'm saying technology can be value free, but not necessarily because it's created by somebody from some institutions from their previous moral background. Yeah, like any well, this is my own personal opinion. Any tools it has purpose. Yeah, any product has its own message, whether or not you're aware of that message or not. Yeah, whether or not there's implicit or explicit message. So what I'm saying is that's why you are the pilot. Yeah, if there's specific products, yeah, let me put it. I'm teaching ethics. I'm teaching ethics from, not necessarily I'm becoming the ethic expert. What I'm saying is I teach ethics from the Western books publisher. But look at Western now in this current situations. So paradox, so naive, so hypocrite, pardon my language. So I always start my ethics class by saying, sorry guys, we are gonna use this book only to put it into frame to help our discussions, but please enrich our discussions, make it fruitful from other real cases. There are many philosophers, thinkers, from the developed country, from Western, but we do have also values, right? For instance, like Asian values, the real Asian values, not the viral Asian values, yeah, the real Asian values. We have plenty, like helping each other, gotong royong. Hey, this is also in my everyone's. Well, it is everyone. So that's why it's universal values. So you have to enrich, because once we talk about ethics, it's like talking about pyramids. Ethics is like in the top. The top is like the way you see things. The way you see things depends on the root. What is the root? The root is values. So the values is not only values that what has been given to you by the book, but also yourself. Is it apt with my values? Is this book is so cool. If I'm not joining this, I'm not becoming the cool person. No, if it's contradicts your values and you believe that I don't have to really follow some trend or some, technological advancements, then don't. Because the ultimate decision maker is you, yes or not. Sometimes it's as simple as that. But that's why I told you, ChatGPT, should I date her or not? No, you cannot ask ChatGPT for that. I mean, this really depends on how you think, whether she's the right person or he's the right one. Why he's not responding me? Well, you ask yourself, did you really respond wisely or just K? Yeah. So basically, it's just, go back again with the root of your values. Yeah, the moral is set of values. So basically what morals that helping you to make your decisions. You cannot really rely on what is outside of you, but make it as a bounce, and then you give back what after you give the values that what you got yourself. Yeah. You want to add?
What is the question?
The first question, how to improve the detection tools to detect AI and using it to
The first question,
Western context.
in Western context.
Do you think that AI is representing the Western context only, or how to make it like more close with our values?
Okay, so thank you for the first question. Is how we can detect AI, right?
Is the question there in your multi-stakeholder approach, like really think how the government or private sectors or maybe civil society that you interviewed is there any like how to improve the detection of AI in your findings, probably to make it close with your research?
Actually, for the AI detection, there are several tools. Yes, in search you have, what is it, Grammarly? Yeah, as also the AI, another AI. Then they have the section called AI detection. But anyway, for AI detected documents or yes, or images we can see, but then for detection, it is actually quite difficult because AI in general, it depends on the prompts. We're talking about, because as I heard from this morning, I see that the way we approach AI is somehow negative. We see that it's as a foe, not as a friend. Actually, I started using AI 2 years ago because one of my friends is a tech savvy. He loved AI technology. I used ChatGPT about a year and a half ago. And I don't think that this is such a wrong way of using that. But then, what is the prompt? The prompt is you have to be very clear of what you want, so the results you get may be satisfactory to you. But if you copy everything from ChatGPT, from POE, or even Claude, somehow this is called plagiarism. But in the plagiarism rules and regulations, we cannot say that ChatGPT, the sources is plagiarized, because no one owns actually the source. We cannot cite that this is from ChatGPT, right? But from detection, it depends on the academic integrity of its people. And for the second questions about Western people, or Western, right, context. I'm sorry, but I don't see the link between the questions to Western values. Why it is to Western values, to this?
Maybe because it's created by like Western platforms or Western factories.
So the thing is that you have to be clear what you want to ask. It is about the prompts, right? What do you want to ask? What about, because I don't understand why this is about Western context is related in this question. ChatGPT or even other AI technology can be generated and can be used and can be formed in other cultures and countries. So why is Western? I don't understand really.
It's probably because of the creators of the platform. Sometimes, mostly are the like Western platforms or Western factories. Maybe we should looking at the urgency of why we should make it like more Southeast Asia's value, for example. Maybe in what case? Maybe you can explain further, Josa.
Southeast Asian values? What do you mean?
Or maybe we can ask, to make it fair,
Yeah.
maybe we should confirm it to Josa. Can you explain what you really mean by like the maybe like Eastern value, why it is important? Do you think why it is important to be there in AI platforms?
Okay, maybe I'm trying to add my opinion later. Yeah, perhaps we cannot really try able to, if we are not if we are truly cannot really distinguish or make sure is it really the values that suit me. So the main message is like be critical in any AI utilizations. You cannot really take it for granted what has been AI is given you, either ChatGPT or any type of AI, or even sometimes AI that helping you, like I don't know, robot that go to the Mars and give you, you know. So you have to really critical, make sure there are so many aspect that maintain, you know, what has been finding what he's been saying, yeah, by contradicting with other sources. Yeah, perhaps that's the thing. Be critical. Yeah. Okay.
One more thing. We always ask is AI trusted, but whether how can I say, whether we ask is Google trusted, right? We treat AI as somehow as quite negative, but then we will be critical and we combine all the AI generated models together and be critical. Maybe the results can be very satisfactory. For example, if the students or any other sector governments want to produce a paper, for example, ChatGPT is a source, but then copy everything from ChatGPT is not good. We can combine different models like POE, Claude, Gemini, yes, and Jenny. Jenny is a good source of writing literature review, and DeepSeek. DeepSeek is we should be cautious. A lot of models are being introduced, but we should know which situation it can be used and what for, especially for the academic integrity. It is about the list of references, right? We copy everything, maybe some list, some source cannot be found. So that's why being critical is more important than posing the question whether it's trusted or not. Because even human, some people can be trusted in this situation, but not in other situations.
Thank you so much for Dr. Ajeng and Miss Lee for your presentation and explanation. Can we give round of applause for all the distinguished speakers?
I have gifts for
you have
for
the participants. Okay. Thank you so much. So Miss Ajeng have some gifts here that she would like to give it to the. Okay, thank you so much. I would give it to the Mbak Faya and also Josa later on. Okay, and myself.
So this is considered. This is actually a pocket book, so it's very light, so everyone could read it. But basically, it's not ends up here. Yeah, you have homework to continue reading from responsible sources. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miss Ajeng, for the books. Okay, thank you so much everyone for your questions. Thank you so much speakers for your amazing presentation. I hope that we get the fruitful discussion from this panel session. And for the e-certificate, you can also scan this QR code right in front of here in our monitor here. And then again, thank you so much, everyone. I hope that this presentation from a different perspective will broaden up your knowledge and then perspective around the fraud and as well as the financial scammers. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, I close my session here. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.